I'm Savannah Bethea, Miss South Carolina Earth, and this is my interview with the Pageant Project.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching from. It's Adrian from the Pageant Project, and I can see a bunch of you have jumped on already. So if you have any questions for Savannah Bethea, who's my guest for today, then put them in the comments and I will pass them on. Ms. Bethea, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing very well. As I told you, I woke up at 5 a.m. to watch your previous interview. We discussed this briefly, you don't sleep much, do you?
No, like I told you, as soon as my head hits the pillow, that's when my gears start turning. I get ideas. And when I'm idle, I kind of go crazy. So I got to keep moving, got to keep doing stuff. And yeah, it kind of messes with my sleep, but I'm making it work.
So is coffee a thing?
Oh, coffee's a thing. Espresso is a thing.
You actually drink espresso, do you? I'm impressed. Most of the Americans I know don't drink espresso. They drink the bottomless mug thing and keep filling it up with more and more water.
I get the lattes from Starbucks, and those have 3 shots of espresso in it. So that gets me up and going.
Are you able to hold your hand up and keep it still? Or does
right now?
Yeah.
No.
Trembling a little bit? Savannah, why don't we get started with how you got the easy question. How did you get involved in the crazy world of pageantry to begin with?
Well, it all started with my mom. She was a pageant girl, and growing up, she always wanted me to do it. But I just wasn't interested in it. But I did love watching the pageants. We used to watch Miss America every year, and we would score the girls at home ourselves and try to guess the winners. So I love that. I went to art school, and I was really into just being as different and as strange as I could be. I shaved half my head. I had a nose ring. I wore like boys' clothes, and hobo chic is what I called it. But when I got to art school, I realized everybody looks like me. Everybody here has like blue hair or a shaved head or something, and I wanted to be different. And I also wanted to explore my femininity. And I also absolutely love drag and the glamour of it and the gowns and the outfits and the way they walked on stage. And so that was the original reason I jumped into it. It's so much farther past that now, but at first, just to explore my femininity.
Hobo chic. What? There might be something lost in translation here. What does hobo mean? Because I thought it meant homeless. It doesn't mean homeless?
It does mean homeless.
Hobo chic. So can you, and a nose ring.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You shaved half your head, and you look slightly different now, which is, and this is probably more pageant chic, less hobo chic. So that's all cool. I have to ask you though, why did you decide you wanted or maybe even needed to explore your femininity a little bit more? Did you have some sort of revelation?
Well, partially because I'm a contrarian. I always have to be different. I'm difficult that way. But also, I go through phases where I explore different parts of me. I'd gone through phases where I explored kind of like a more like rocker. You know what? I'll just say what it was. It was emo. Do you remember that?
Oh, yes. Evanescence and all those angsty. Yes. Yeah, I remember.
Well, I went through that phase, the all black, the bangs that covered the eyes. I went through a hippie phase, and then I went through a phase where I did not care at all about being pretty. Somebody had actually once said to me, but, you know, it's not pretty. You don't look pretty. And I said, I'm not trying to look pretty. I'm trying to look interesting. So I just finished that phase. I finished that part of my life. I was done exploring that. I also had a phase where I dressed, very tomboyish, a lot of jerseys and stuff. Explored my masculine side, and it was just time to kind of explore myself as a woman, as a feminine woman.
Sound like you must live at the speed of light, though. I mean, so you don't sleep, and the way you're talking about phases, it's like you're 80 years old, but you're only 27 years old. Do you tend to move on and move through life really quickly?
I don't know. I would say they all kind of lasted about 4 years. Like the emo phase, I think it was like 14. And then, I guess around 18, maybe it was more like 17, I explored the hippie phase. Then I got a little weird. Then I got a little more tomboy, and I don't know, a couple years each, I think. But yeah, I just move on. I don't like to stay stagnant in any way.
Just watch your sash. It's beginning to fall off, as I like to do. I do love the Miss Earth USA sashes. They look amazing. I love the color. I love the font. I love the stones on the side. So if you had to bring it back, so to speak, what phase would you bring back? Or are you going to bring in a new phase?
I think I am bringing in a new phase. I'm getting really wildernessy. And I watched a documentary about Ralph Lauren when he first came out, and I really love the old looks that Ralph Lauren had, the different mixes of corduroy, plaid, and khaki, and it was just chic. And I'm going to be 27, and I want my style to match my age. I love all the trendy looks going around right now, but I want to be taken seriously, and I think that's where I'm headed next. But if I could redo one, tomboy face, the most comfortable face, for sure.
Yeah, comfort and pageantry don't tend to get mentioned in the same sentence. I feel sorry for your hair, though. You said you've shaved half of it off. You dyed it black?
Oh, no, I didn't dye it black. I haven't dyed my hair since I was like 12. I had blonde highlights when I was like 12, but yeah, it was just dark brown. So that was dark enough for me. I know I won't keep up with that. I won't go back to the salon and get it re-dyed. And that's money, that's money I could be doing something else with. So I don't dye my hair. This is natural. And it's been that way for a good minute.
Can you tell me more about, you used an unusual word, contrarian, why don't you explain for the people at home what you mean by contrarian and why you identify as being a contrarian?
Contrarian's similar to a devil's advocate. It's just the other side. I've always got to be seeing the other side of what everyone else is thinking about, and just being the opposite. And I do like to be different, and I like to explore thoughts on all sides. So if I'm surrounded by people who think one way, I try to challenge that thought by giving them the other side of the coin. And then I could be around people that are exactly like the side I just demonstrated, and then I'll try to offer them the different side of the coin. It's more fun to think and talk through things than to just be like, yep, I totally agree. End of conversation,
And how is that going for you? Because from what I've seen, especially with 2020, since COVID broke out, obviously you guys had your election. I'm not going to ask you about the election, don't worry. But not everyone likes people disagreeing with them. So when you disagree with them, even if it's in a constructive way, are people always receptive, or do some people bite back?
Politics is totally different. I don't like to go there with people. Have you ever had a conversation with someone, maybe once in your life, where you finished making your point and they go, "Oh my God, you have changed my mind. I think completely differently now." That so rarely happens. People have to come to things on their own. So with politics, touchy subjects, religion, things like that, I don't really try to go there. If I'm with someone I'm comfortable with, a friend, and or like I'm having a really great intellectual conversation with someone, and that feels okay, and I know I can do it in a respectful way where I'm not pushing something, I'm just opening up the dialogue, then I might. But yeah, generally politics is a different situation.
I think that's an intelligent choice for your own sanity and well-being. Let me just swivel over to the comment here for a second. Ralph, I'll bring them up on the screen so you can see. Ralph is saying, "Good afternoon, Adrian and Savannah." Ralph, speaking of people who never speak, never sleep, don't you ever sleep? You're always watching the interviews no matter what time that they're on. Elizabeth, remind me where you're from, Elizabeth. Elizabeth is not from the US. I can't remember if she's from the UK or Canada, but she said, "Evening to both of you." Oh, Linnell is here. Hi, Adrian and Savannah. And then Hima has said, so beautiful. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show everyone the eco video that you submitted for Miss Earth, because I really, really liked it. So I'm just going to bring it up in a second. We'll have a look, Savannah, at the whole thing, and then we'll have a chat about it afterwards. Okay, so
Yeah.
here it is. You'll still be on screen whilst we do this. I'll just mute you so we're quiet. So here we go. Here's Savannah's submission from Miss Earth USA.
Hi, I'm Savannah Bethea, Miss South Carolina Earth, a 27-year-old visual artist and model. Growing up in the natural beauty of the Carolinas, outdoor activities led to my love of fitness and 2 state all-around gymnastics championships. Spending time on our family farm inspired my journey exploring ecological stewardship, personally, locally, and globally. While studying studio art here at Converse College, I developed as an artist and also learned the importance of proper disposal of art materials for water and soil conservation. Metal sculpting introduced me to the reuse of found materials. I'm curating an upcoming gallery show featuring upcycled materials. It was the sisterhood I found at Converse that gave me the courage to express myself through music, teaching myself guitar, piano, and to write my own songs. Locally, I work with the Sumter County Love Where You Live, organizing youth groups for litter cleanups. As a Girl Scout Gold Award committee member, I advise amazing young women on their sustainable projects. And with Palmetto Pride and Keep America Beautiful, I volunteer monthly to restore the beautiful Glendale Shoals Nature Preserve. I continually educate myself on global issues and environmental missions through membership in the Oceans Future Society. As a panda ambassador, alerting political leaders about wildlife issues, and as a partner of Love Beyond Borders, helping Ugandan women build an independent, sustainable future. Being Miss Earth USA would be an extraordinary opportunity to learn more closely from environmental heroes to inspire others to find ways in their own lives to help our planet. It was through my own charity, Jeans for Teens, that I understood helping people and our environment work best as a common goal. I started Jeans for Teens in high school, organizing used denim drives for young people in need. Respect for people I help is key, so giving teenagers clothes that inspired pride meant many donations weren't used. In expanding the program, I partnered with Cotton Incorporated and their Blue Jeans Go Green initiative. Now, all of the undistributed jeans are recycled into sustainable insulation. To take production waste into account, I coordinated with Raleigh Denim and Billiam jeans to donate all of their scraps from production to the Cotton Incorporated program. Interest in my project has expanded to 6 states, and I've recycled more than 1/2 ton of denim. I believe the best way to create global change is to inspire people to make positive environmental choices and to become ecological guardians of their local communities. I'm Savannah Bethea, Miss South Carolina Earth, and I'm a beauty for a cause.
Okay, let me leave it there. Sorry, guys, I made the mistake of muting my own mic, which happens to mute that sound. Savannah, I loved that video. How did you go about making it? What was the process behind it?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for saying that. I really wanted to do something high quality. This is my last year before I age out, and we spoke about this. I don't want to hold anything back. Whatever is going to happen is going to happen, but I want to have no regrets. So I reached out to a videographer company that I found online, just curious to get a quote. We spoke on the phone. I told him what it was about, and then later he emailed me a quote, and it was very expensive and I could not afford it. So I apologized to him. I was like, I understand why this is so expensive. Good work costs good money, but I just don't have it. I'm so sorry if I wasted your time. And he was like, well, wait, what do you have? And I gave him less than half of the original price, that I had to work with. And I said, if you can do this for me for this much, then I promise I can get it done in half the time. And he kind of laughed. He didn't really believe that I could do it. He's like, I don't think you understand how long this takes. And I was like, just trust me. Okay. So I mapped everything out, every location, and, got the links together so that the videographers and I could drive around to different places. I got all of the outfits for the different scenes lined up. I picked out the different scenes and what order it would be filmed in. I even got a changing tent so that when we went to the nature preserve that you saw, I could just hop in the tent, change real quick. Yeah. So we would get a scene and we'd be like, got it. And I would sprint and get into the next outfit and we'd move on. So they're just an amazing company. And I just had to kind of do a little bit of working with them to make it happen for me. But, when you really want something, you find a way.
Well, I think there's a lesson to be learned for everyone watching at home there, because I know how much videography costs because I do some of it. It's not cheap. It does take a lot of work. But a lot of pageant girls would have left it, seen the quote and gone, no, I can't do that, and left it there. So you didn't. You persisted, which must mean, as you already said, you really, really, really want this. So can you tell people, give people some sense watching at home, why is this so important to you?
This is an opportunity that, just doesn't come along very often. Like, in being Miss South Carolina Earth, I put so much work into my projects. And when you put a lot of work into something, you become emotionally attached. So being Miss Earth USA is getting to take everything that I'm passionate about, everything I'm emotionally attached to, and giving me a much bigger platform and more people to meet that can help me grow this. It's an opportunity that's just the next step up from this one, where I can make things happen, and people will take me seriously, and I can be an ecological leader for our country. And that's just, not an opportunity that comes along for an artist very often. And this is such a fun way to chase that dream. And then if I get it, I just know there's so much I can accomplish with the help of the Miss Earth USA organization.
Is it fair to say work ethic is a big thing for you? Hard work? You don't seem to be afraid of it.
No, I think it's absolutely important. I think it's necessary. That's the number one thing I focused on since being Miss South Carolina Earth, is making sure that the work I'm doing is real work and that it's truly impactful, that I'm really making a difference, and that I'm not just, doing enough to get by. I want to show that I take this seriously. I want to demonstrate as Miss South Carolina Earth what I would do as Miss Earth USA. This is what our title is a chance to do. It's your chance to basically audition for the role and show how hard you'd work.
And the US, obviously, at the internationals, at least, has done relatively well at Miss Earth, with Marissa currently being Miss Earth Air, and then Lindsay last year winning. I asked another one of your sister queens this, but why do you think that the US has historically done so well at Miss Earth? Because it's not the case with every pageant, but Miss Earth, they're really crushing it.
I think we've consistently sent incredibly intelligent, informed girls. They know the information. You can't throw them for a loop. You can't give them one of those throw you off questions, because they're prepared. They've done the research and they've done the work. And they're also women, Lindsay and Marissa, who have taken their jobs seriously and created projects and done work that really matters. And when you get to that level, you've got so many gorgeous girls who know how to walk, who know how to speak. And it comes down to how hard you work and what you have to say. And I think they've had a lot to say, and that's been noticed.
I mean, you mentioned their projects, you mentioned their advocacies. Yours is slightly different, Jeans for Teens. Why don't you start by telling us what it is and a little bit more about it?
Okay, absolutely. Jeans for Teens is a project I started in high school with the goal of collecting quality, fashionable, trendy jeans to donate to teenagers. I had spoken to the homeless shelter and the foster programs there, and they told me that teens were basically skipped over when it came to donations. So they would have to wear some of the adult donations that were completely, not in style, not cool. And I mean, as we talked about with all my style changes, personal style is so important, especially at that age. You're finding out who you are. You're trying to express yourself in the world. So I wanted to, create a project that donated with respect. That was the goal. If you'd wear it, then I'm going to donate it. If it's not something that you would wear yourself, it's not getting donated. But I was still, so many people were sending in things that were unwearable, just condition wise, or just not something a teenager would wear and feel cool in. And so I started researching, when I expanded the project, what can I do with all this excess denim that's not going to be usable? And I found the Blue Jeans Go Green initiative by Cotton Incorporated. And I got in their DMs and I commented and I bothered them until they responded. And I got to actually have a conversation with the director of marketing at Cotton. They're a national company here. And I am one woman, running a project out of my kitchen. So the fact that she would agree to talk to me as an equal and took me seriously meant so much to me. And it took a few meetings, but I convinced her that we should work together. Our denim project should work together and we could accomplish a lot more. And she agreed. So that was the beginning of changing everything around. So now all of the denim, I collect denim in all conditions now, not just quality stuff. I'll take scraps, I'll take totally ruined denim, brand new stuff, and sort it. Anything that's trendy or like new still gets donated, but a majority of it is recycled into sustainable home insulation and thermal packaging for food and pharmaceutical shipment. And that insulation can be recycled over and over again. And that's what I think is the coolest part about the project, because the denim that we save will stay in this permanent life cycle of use and out of the landfill. And that's important because textile waste can take up to 200 plus years to break down. And when it does, it releases methane, which is a greenhouse gas that's more harmful than carbon. And textile waste is one of the fastest growing categories of landfill waste. So I wanted to take something that I was already really passionate about and figure out how I can put an environmental spin on it. And I did. And that just kept growing. I even decided to do an art show where I'm going to be taking some of the denim and making a piece for that. And I've invited other artists who make work by rethinking the way that they recycle. One woman made an entire opera dress out of unused opera tickets, and that was actually featured in New York Fashion Week. Yeah, another guy, he orders a lot of Amazon, and he made a sculpture out of those Amazon boxes. And it's kind of a statement about how much extra waste we've had during lockdown with us ordering in food and so many home deliveries from Amazon. So that project is going to make a statement about textile waste, but also that recycling can be done in a creative and fun, interesting way instead of just the traditional way. But also there's so many facets to this, but it's spread to 10 states. I've gotten schools involved, cheerleading squads, churches. Keep America Beautiful got involved and helped me bring Jeans for Teens to counties all over the state of South Carolina. 2 denim companies, as you saw in the video, Billiam Jeans and Raleigh Denim Workshop. Raleigh Denim is a national company, and they gave me the scraps from their production. So we've got post-consumer waste and pre-consumer waste factored into the project. I just wanted it to be thorough and well thought out, really something that was going to make a difference from the time, we start producing the jeans to the time it's time to throw them away or recycle them.
It certainly sounds like you thought about it from top to bottom. Are you still taking denim donations, Savannah?
Absolutely. The project officially ended for the year on December 15th, but if somebody sends me denim, I'm still down to take it. I'm still sorting it, and I have pickups to do. I still have to go to St. Augustine, Florida, and do a pickup from a woman there who works with storage containers. I don't know if you've ever seen that show, Storage Wars. You heard about it?
No.
Okay, that's the American thing. But basically, when you have a storage unit and you don't pay your rent, they auction it off. And these people have no idea what's inside. They just bid on it and hope there's stuff in it that they can sell. So this woman and her husband do that. And they come across mountains of denim that she was just throwing away. And I found her by going on the Facebook market and talking people out of selling their denim and just giving it to me instead. And that actually worked. And that's how I found her. She was like, yeah, I come across so much denim. And she's got like 10 huge tubs of denim so far. So I still got to pick up from there. I've got different counties in South Carolina to pick up from. I still got to coordinate with the school in Texas to send over the denim that their school collected. So, I mean, I have so much left to do. So why not? Yeah, I'm still taking it. Bring it on. Let's save more from the landfill.
So if people want to donate, what's the best way to get in touch with you? Through Instagram, through Facebook?
Instagram,
email?
through my regular Instagram or my Miss South Carolina Earth Instagram. I'm on both equally. So just send me a message there. If we're not friends, I check my message requests all the time. So I'll see it in a couple of days and we'll coordinate and I'll, let you know how you can get that to me. Perfect.
You mentioned you bothered this woman, this lady, until she responded to you. This facet, the bothering or being headstrong or being passionate about something you care about, has that always been a facet of your personality? Because not everyone would have the courage to bother someone sort of at that level and until they've responded.
No, it absolutely hasn't. I think it's just because I'm so in love with this project, because I've had no problem, going on the Facebook market where people are trying to sell stuff and asking them to give it to the project instead. I've had no problem reaching out to all these companies that are so much bigger than me. But, in pageants, we're supposed to kind of find sponsorships to help pay for this. I
Mm-hmm.
cannot ask people for money. It is so hard for me. Like, I'm so embarrassed. I'm like, hey, I know we're in the middle of a pandemic, but could you give me some money so I could buy a dress? I just don't feel right about that. But, but this is for something bigger. This is for something more. It's something that's going to help us all. So I have no shame in asking them. I'm trying to do something that's going to help the world. I help the world. I help all of these people in it. So I have no shame whatsoever when it comes to that. But typically in life, no, I can be a little bit shy when it comes for asking for things that I don't have.
So your pageant journey, what have you learned about yourself, or what sort of facets of your personality have you had to grow or explore? So we've already said, okay, asking for things, a bit uncomfortable, but you've done it because you've had a purpose. Have there been other facets of your personality that you've had to grow or explore?
Yeah. As an artist, I'm very visual, and I've not always been fantastic with words. I have what I feel are these fantastic thoughts, but I really struggle to get them out in an eloquent way. So I worked with my uncle. I also have a pageant coach who's been really helpful, but I work with my uncle who did a lot of speech and debate growing up. Now, he doesn't know anything about pageants whatsoever, and he's not into it, but he helped me, I kind of rambled to him about how I felt about something. And then he would be like, so this is how you feel about it. I'm like, oh, that's beautiful. And he helped me figure out how to do that myself, how to take my thoughts and deliver them in an eloquent way that people will understand. So I've definitely learned how to, I guess, speak my mind in a more hearable way, if that makes sense.
Sounds like in a more concise fashion. Sounds like you got all excited and ranted for a while, and your uncle might have said, well, here's what you can say instead, and condensed a 5-minute rant into maybe a 30-second speech.
Exactly. And he taught me how to do it myself so that I don't always have to run to him and ramble for an hour just to be able to give somebody a 5-minute pitch. But that's another thing I got great at is I realized that I have a knack for marketing and project management. I realized that I have a knack for pitch writing and delivering. And I think a couple of years ago, that's something I would have just stumbled through. It would have just been a mess. So I worked on that. I practiced. I talked to the mirror. I prepared for conversations that were 5 minutes long for like 2 hours. So I knew that, communication is what's going to get you there. So I knew I had to work on that. So that's something that pageants have definitely helped me learn.
So there's no chance that you can take your uncle to the actual pageant to help you? He's not.
I wish he's in New York, and he is very serious about COVID, as he should be. So he will be in his apartment in a bubble, masked up. But he really wasn't into pageants, but he has told me since that he was wrong about pageants, and that he thinks that the Miss Earth system has been fantastic for me because he's seen how much I've grown and how hard I've worked and the things that I've accomplished. He's so impressed that I was able to get Raleigh Denim Workshop to talk to me. And I'm like, really? Because it wasn't hard. They were down. I called them and they were all about it. But he worked in fashion for a long time in New York, and he's very familiar with that company and when they display at New York Fashion Week. So he was very impressed that they responded.
It's interesting you mentioned, it's not the first time I've heard it, that someone sort of had a misperception about pageants and then they actually got involved with it and, the perceptions cleared up. I'm curious, did you have any misperceptions or perceptions about pageants that now that you've entered them? I know you watched Miss America, but now that you've entered it yourself, did you have any sort of perceptions that you went, oh, that's actually not right?
I'm trying to think if I did. I feel like I definitely, had some of the maybe stereotypes about pageant girls that weren't fair. And, within my first pageant, I was proved completely wrong. It's so hard not to give into or believe a stereotype that you hear when you're not a part of that world. But if you just, get into a world that's not your own, step outside your box and meet people and talk to people, you can realize how wrong you are about so many things, about how you're missing out on so many things by putting yourself and other people in boxes.
Now, guys watching at home, I can still see a bunch of you, so don't be a stranger. Give Savannah some questions or just send a message of support, and I will pass it on to her, help the girl out. Savannah, obviously, it's not long until the pageant. I'm just looking at the date. It's 2 weeks, if that. And you have a little holiday known as Christmas in between now and actually competing. How has it been prepping for the pageant, which we've already discussed is really important to you? whilst you sort of got Christmas and New Year's coming up kind of in the way?
I make it work. I kind of designate days for something. So Christmas wasn't really that hard. I got on Amazon, I got everything ordered, and it's getting sent over. But the pageant really is my main focus, and everybody in my life knows that. If what they're inviting me to or whatever is kind of getting in the way of my plan or the practice and what I've planned out to prepare for, they kind of already know that this comes first. It's in 27, this is my last chance, and I'm going as hard as I can.
And I have to ask you, I know we were discussing this before, but barbecue. And I didn't know that all of you Southerners are so passionate about your barbecue and you will fight to the death as to whose barbecue is best. I already told you. So I interviewed, you don't know her name, Natalie Draught, who was representing Texas at another pageant. And she insisted, I have to try Texan barbecue. It's the best. You would politely disagree. Is that fair to say?
I would politely disagree, but I would be so surprised if she didn't say Texas barbecue is the best. We're very proud of our regional barbecue, and we will stand up for it. So I don't knock her at all for that. However, she is wrong. South Carolina's is better.
Can you explain for me over in Australia? To me, barbecue is barbecue. What makes South Carolinian barbecue, if that's a word, what makes it stand out?
South Carolinian is a word. So I like in the north here, people think barbecue is anything cooked on a grill. But here, barbecue is shredded pork, pulled pork, some people call it that, and then covered in sauce. And that's what barbecue is. And we put it on sandwiches, and we have kind of typical fixins, is what we call them, that go along with them. And then the sauces vary from state to state, but also region to region. So I am from the PD area of South Carolina, which is down towards the coast, and that's mustard-based or vinegar-based. I currently live in upstate South Carolina, and it's tomato-based up here, which is that's not what I like. But so it's very different, and it kind of it's a part of the different cultures in the South.
I've heard, I think, on TV this phrase, or with all the fixings, or with all the trimmings. Can you give me an idea, like what are all the fixings you might get with the barbecue pork?
A lot of times you get slaw, cold slaw, baked beans. There's this hash, which is basically like all the leftover parts of like pigs and stuff put together. It sounds really gross, but it's not. Things like that. Those are the kind of typical slaw and baked beans. If you get a plate, or typically what come with it. Oh, fried okra. Have you ever had fried okra?
Had okra? You guys fry it? I've never had
fry
that.
Everything.
How does that go with pageant prep? Have you had to sort of go, I can't have that, or you're able to make it work somehow?
I like everything else, I did not procrastinate on my body. I've been working on it along. Nothing, crash diets don't work. And then when you get to the pageant, you're tired. And then, it's just, that's not going to work. So I've been doing this along. So I haven't had to drill sergeant myself and cut out, whole food groups or anything, because I've done it slowly and I've reached my goal. So like last night I had barbecue and macaroni and cheese mixed together. Because I've been doing good and I've been staying healthy, and, I won't have something like that again for another couple weeks, but, I get to have treats like that because, I've made sure I've stayed on top of this, for the past months that I've been Miss South Carolina Earth.
You sent me a photo of that dish. As I told you, I thought it looked delicious. The presentation could be improved, but how excited do you get to eat something like that? Because I used to have a pretty, let's say, a strict diet, and would come to the one, cheat day a week. And I would get so stupidly excited about fries or ice cream. Almost like you'd start trembling holding it. Does that food make you that excited? Because it kind of looks like it would.
It really does, yeah. Especially if I'm going to like one of my family members' houses that I know cooks things a certain way, and I get to eat like this aunt's casserole or something like that. I get very excited about that. But with my diet, it's really mostly about portion control. So I do get to have fun things throughout, the week. I just don't eat large amounts of it. It might be like a bunch of broccoli or a bunch of cauliflower salad, and then I get a little bit of the fun stuff too. Yeah. So as long as I have portion control, I don't ever kind of miss any one food.
So if you were to die tomorrow, let's say, this is a really bright, cheery topic of conversation, but if you were to die tomorrow, last meal, what would you choose as your last meal before you pass on?
I don't think I'm gonna say it right, but it's like one of my favorite foods this year. It's a curry, and I think it's called gang massamum. It's brown curry, but it is so delicious. There's a restaurant here in Spartanburg that's local that makes it, and I would have that with brown rice. That'd be my last meal. I'd be in heaven.
I think I know what that is because we have a lot of good curry places over here in Australia.
I'm
That is
butchering it, I'm sure.
not what I was expecting at all. Curry with brown rice. I was ready for some, fried food, but you went the curry and brown rice. That's I can respect that. Can you talk to me about? You asked me about Vegemite, so I have to ask, why on earth, after I told you what it was, showed you my friend's reaction to it, poor old Holly basically died after having a bit of it. Why do you still go, I need to try that? Because I didn't make it look very appetizing.
Because I'm a contrarian and I have to be the opposite of everything. The second I saw her be like, oh, it's bad, I was like, oh, I bet I'd love it. I have to try it.
Do you have Vegemite over where you're at?
I feel like we do somewhere. I mean, things have gotten around so much, things aren't as, hard to get as they used to be. And if not, I bet I could get it online. But I'm planning on trying this for sure. But I'm going to do it the way you said, on toast with butter, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's better not to just take it out of the jar and eat it in a spoonful. But let me know. If you can't get it, I'll send some to you. Most people, when they ask for Australian foods, the thing that the pageant girls are obsessed with are Tim Tams. Have you heard of Tim Tams?
No.
They're these chocolate wafer biscuits. Anyone watching from the UK will know it as a better version of a penguin. That's not the animal, but they have a biscuit called a penguin. And it's a chocolate biscuit with wafer in the middle. And what we like to do in Australia, it's called the Tim Tam Slam. You literally bite off opposing corners of this biscuit. And in your case, you would suck your espresso through the Tim Tam. So it kind of melts as it goes through. And then your coffee would have a chocolatey taste. So we're also known for Tim Tams.
We have something like that. It's like a wafer straw that's kind of lined with chocolate on the inside. We have those. Yep. I don't think they're called that, though. I don't know what they're called, but I know they're not Tim Tams.
Yeah. So are you a big fan of chocolate? We haven't mentioned chocolate.
Yeah, I love chocolate. Chocolate chip cookies are a big weakness of mine. As a matter of fact, just desserts in general are. But yeah, I'm big on chocolate. Chocolate cake is what I always get at my birthday.
That sounds good. So I'd be assuming that you'd be celebrating with a big chocolate cake come your birthday next year, because it'd be after the pageant, right?
My birthday is January 20th, so it's not long after the pageant's over, about 10 days after. So yeah, I'll definitely be celebrating with a huge chocolate cake.
Well, hopefully you'll have a big, big reason to celebrate. Savannah, just before we go to the final 10 questions, is there anyone that you would like to give a shout out to for supporting you along your journey?
Well, I know Ralph is watching. Thank you, Ralph. He is always so supportive to everybody. I mean, he's like the first to comment, and he sends me messages just wishing me, to have a good day all the time. And I know he does that for so many of the girls, and he's just a sweet guy. So I want to say hey to him because he's watching and supporting me. And my mom, who I don't know if she's watching, I think she's at work, but hey, Mom.
Yeah, you can send this to her afterwards. I know. I think Ralph will be at Miss Earth USA, if I'm correct. So when you're there in January, you'll see him. Say hi to him for me. All right, Savannah, here we go. Final 10 questions. It's not a speed round, but if you want to answer them as quickly as possible, go for it. Random questions. Good pageant practice. Here we go. Question the first. What is your favorite word?
Pensacola. It's a place in Florida. I don't think I've ever been, but it's so fun to say. Pensacola, Pensacola.
I actually knew what it was, but I can tell you it's the first time anyone has said the word Pensacola. After doing 300 or so interviews, I like new answers, believe me. Okay. What is your least favorite word?
No.
You seem to be having an actual reaction, even saying the word no.
I don't like it. Not in a spoiled way, but, When you really want something, you've really gone after something and you get a no, it's just the worst. It hurts.
Yeah. Question 3. In life, what gets you excited or what turns you on?
Anything involving creativity, anything that gives me a chance to come up with an idea and execute it. In painting, this project, in music, anything where I get a chance to, be the driving force and the creativity of it.
And question 4, what turns you off?
Rude people, lack of manners. I just love manners. Like, we're so big on it in the South, and I love that part of our culture. And I just can't stand. Oh, and people that are mean to the wait staff. I was a waitress for years, so I can't stand that.
I never understand that because it's rarely the wait staff's fault in the first place. Like, if a meal is coming out slow or wrong, it's not the wait staff's.
Right.
It's not the waitress's problem, fault. Okay. Question 5. What sound or noise do you love?
Have you ever watched a cooking show before? Do you know where they're like opening the different bags and stuff, that little crunchiness? And this was way before ASMR. When I was a kid, my mom would watch those cooking shows and I'd listen to it while I did my homework. And I remember thinking, like, gosh, I love those crunchy noises when they're opening bags and dumping stuff in.
Well, ASMR is a big thing. So if you ever want to start a YouTube channel and open up bags of food, I'm sure there's an audience for everything. What sound or noise do you hate?
Anything repetitive, like a pen tapping over and over and over, a car alarm that's like, wah, wah, wah. Anything that's just repetitive over and over that doesn't change in rhythm just gets under my skin. My mom is the exact same way.
Question 7. If you could have any one superpower, what would you pick and why?
I've thought a lot about this, actually. I was a gymnast, so I would choose to fly, and then I would I'd try out for the Olympics at 27, and I'd be able to do the craziest, hardest skills, and nobody would know that it's because I could fly and that it actually wasn't hard for me. But yeah, I've thought about that. I would do that.
You might actually be able to give Simone Biles a run for her money. No one can compete with that girl. So
no,
maybe
she's
that's the
impossible
answer.
to beat.
Maybe that's her secret. Maybe she can secretly fly. That would explain a lot. Question 8. What job or occupation other than your own would you most like to attempt?
Always wanted to be a pop star. I won't lie. The outfits are cute, but most importantly, I have always wanted to make a music video. Especially the music videos today. They're like miniature movies, the cinema and the concepts behind them. And especially, so many of them, like Taylor Swift, they put narratives in them. They call them Easter eggs, where it's kind of like a clue for the fans. I love how thought out that is. And, the way that you can take moving image and express something, or take moving image and add it to a song that you thought meant something totally different. And when you see it set to this story, your thought process is totally changed on it. That's a creative endeavor I've never gotten to participate in. So I'd be a pop star so that I would have a killer, huge music video budget.
So if we go to a karaoke bar, what's first on the list for you? First 1, 2, or 3 songs that you'd have to sing.
Valerie by Amy Winehouse. That's like my go-to song, and I love playing that on guitar. At Last by Etta James is one that I'm really good at. When I did the Miss America system, that's what I sang. And then Runaway by Del Shannon. Have you ever heard that? It's like an old song from the 50s.
I was going to say Etta James is already old school. So you like the old school style music?
I do, yeah. My dad was 40 when I was born. I grew up with parents that kind of got started a little bit later in life. So my dad loved old rock. And, that includes rock from the 50s. So I learned that from him, and my mom loved musical theater. So I learned that from her. And then the town I was from, hip hop was very big. So hip hop and R&B. So I got a little taste of everything growing up, and older music was definitely a big part of that. My dad insisted that the music we listen to today is terrible, as most dads do, and would make us listen to his music. But I loved it. I never complained. I'm going to age myself, had an MP3 player. The iPod had not even been invented yet. It could hold like 10 songs, and it was all old music, like Jimmy Ruffin. I don't know if you're familiar with him. His brother was in the Temptations. Do you
Right.
remember
Yes.
the
Okay.
Temptations one? Okay, so
Yep.
he's from that era. It had Otis Redding sitting on the dock of the bay. The Pointer
Wow.
Sisters. I'm so excited. Yeah, just anything, all kinds of eras and all kinds of genres. My dad made sure I knew about it.
But do you like pop music,
Oh,
like
I
recent
love
music
pop.
as well?
I love pop, especially terrible pop. Just horrible, corny pop. I really love it. I think that there is something to be said for being able to write a song that's instantly stuck in someone's head. Is it depthy? No. Is it particularly intelligent? No. But it takes a level of intelligence to be able to write something that catchy, that sticks with people. That's an
Mm,
art. And I don't think people think about that very much because typically pop lyrics are somewhat shallow. And if they're deep, it's something that's been talked about 100 times.
mm. Did you hear that? Speaking of things that get stuck in your head, Baby Shark. Did you ever hear that?
Yeah, I knew that song actually before it was huge. My brothers went to the Citadel summer camp. The Citadel is a military college here in South Carolina, and they would go to camp. And at the end, all the parents and sisters and stuff would come watch, and they'd have to do all this like embarrassing stuff. And Baby Shark was one of them. And I remember thinking that was the funniest song ever. And then it came back around, and it stopped being funny real quick.
I thought by your definition it would be classified as great music, but apparently not. All right. So that was what job would you like to attempt? Question 9, what job would you definitely not like to attempt?
Sales. Sales, because so many people in my life have tried to make me go into sales my whole life, and being a contrarian, I absolutely just can't do that. So I have like an aversion to anything with sales.
It sounds like you're one of those people. The best way to get you to do something is to tell you to do the opposite. Are you one of those like, I bet you couldn't do this, and then you're like, oh, I got to do it. I got to prove you wrong.
Oh
Is
yeah,
that?
if you say I can't do something, yeah, like I'm easy to manipulate in that way. And my coaches in gymnastics figure that out so fast. Like if I just like was afraid, because that's a big thing in gymnastics is fear. It's not necessarily the
Yeah.
ability, but if I was afraid to do something, they would get this girl that was on the team with me, who was kind of a rival. See, in gymnastics, you're on a team, but it's an individual sport. So you
Yeah.
want to do better than your teammates. They would get this girl that was the same level as me to do it. They'd be like, Allie, why don't you do it? Hey, Allie, if you're watching, I love you. And she'd do it. And I'd be like, man, I'm doing it now. And I'd just get over. So yeah, if you tell me I can't do something or show me that somebody else can do it better, then I'm going to work at it until I can also do it.
Well, don't worry, you're not alone in that. There have been some I know I have some very good pageant friends who got started in pageantry because someone told them they couldn't do it. In fact, Nadia Sayers, who was Miss Universe Ireland earlier this year, she got started in it because one of her friends, they were watching it and she said, oh, you'd look funny doing that, wouldn't you? So then, she started, and then before you know it, on the Miss Universe stage, the biggest stage in the world. So I can understand. Final question. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
I want to think about this one. This one's important. Maybe that like your grandma's been waiting for you. I loved my grandma so much. She died when I was very young. So it would be so great to get there. And God's like, oh my gosh, Betty has not stopped talking about you. I'm so glad you're here because she has been annoying.
I share that with you. I lost my grandmother when I was quite young, I think maybe 9 or 10. And she was a person that I was closest to. So it was a great shame. Well, Savannah, let's just circle round to the comments one more time. Yeah, Ralph here has said, great show and interview today, Adrian and Savannah. See you in 2 weeks.
See you then, Ralph. Looking forward to it.
Just on that note, whilst I have your name on the screen, it's reminded me of this. Your nickname, you go by Vanna, not Sav.
No, yeah, I go by Vanna. My mom always called me Vanna. As a matter of fact, in gymnastics and at school, everyone called me Vanna. I only got called Savannah if I was in trouble. So, yeah. And I kind of wanted to go by Vanna because Savannah is such a popular name for pageant girls, especially in the South and in America.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. That's what they put online when I got to be Miss South Carolina Earth. So I've been running with it.
Sounds good. And it sounds contrarian, as usual. Well, Vanna, that's about it. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
It's been a pleasure. I will keep you on the line for just a second whilst I hang up with the audience. But thanks to everyone for watching, whether it's live or on the replay, and we will speak to you next time. Bye for now. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Sorority Access is now open. So if you'd like to join an amazing group of women and learn how to be the most powerful, confident, and impactful queen possible, head to thepageantsorority.com. I'll see you there and see you in the next video.